Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for tourism, information and broadcasting.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I rise to add my voice to this rather important motion, Madam Speaker, I would like to conclude that the standards of the speaker that has gone before me is very, very low. When he would suggest, Madam Speaker, that the economic performance of the last year was actually very successful. Madam Speaker, if you would allow me, before I go into the body of my presentation, I would just like to present another view as it pertains to the current economic environment and the economic performance of the last 10 years that we have found ourselves in. Madam Speaker, I think that it is mediocre to suggest that a 0.9 growth in GDP is actually success. It is mediocre, Madam Speaker, to suggest that we've inherited a successful economic performance from the Labour administration when in the last 10 years, the Social Economic Review suggests that the average growth rate of the country is very skeletal at 1.3%, Madam Speaker. These are facts.
Honourable Member?
Yes.
My apologies. Would you like the rostrum?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fine. Madam Speaker, I want them to see me clearly. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for your kindness and for your concern about me. But, Madam Speaker, I like to be free. Madam Speaker, for the most part of the previous administration, the unemployment rate hovered well over 20%. Madam Speaker, businesses closed. Madam Speaker, there was a drought in investment in this country. Madam Speaker, people lost hope because of the very bad economic performance of the past administration. And to say to us in this honorable House today that we have inherited a very successful situation, it is mediocre. And Madam Speaker, it suggests to me, it is what they do normally when they're in opposition. They desperately try to scramble for a message as they seek momentum. Madam Speaker, youth unemployment was even worse. It was well over 40%. And Madam Speaker, many hundreds of young people are still feeling the brunt of their economic performance. They're still suffering, Madam Speaker, and they have failed to recover, which is why on June 6th of 2016, they trust and they place their hopes and faith in the United Workers' Party. You know, Madam Speaker, I'm pretty new to this. I haven't been in Parliament as long as my friend from the Honourable Member for Canaries East, who has been MP for his constituency for well over 20 years. And I sit and I watch the constituency and I cry for those people. And it is the same mediocrity with which he's approached this debate, that he presides over the constituency. There has been little movement or little advancement in the lives of the people of the Canaries East constituency. So, Madam Speaker,
that's right, brother.
the situation that we have found ourselves in, Madam Speaker, is extremely precarious. And the times that we have found ourselves in are rather dangerous. And so, Madam Speaker, we cannot cling to mediocre philosophies, and we cannot approach this, Madam Speaker, with average principles and themes, Madam Speaker, that are less than adequate for the advancement of the lives of our people. Madam Speaker, the budget exercise that we've just been through, and it was my first budget exercise, it was very, very horrendous to see that we are underfunding the hospitals, that we're underfunding the education system, that what is ideal for sport development in our country, that the country's resources are less than adequate in order to meet the financial burdens or obligations of the various sectors so that we can have proper development of the various sectors. Madam Speaker, that says to me that we have inherited a mediocre situation, and there's nothing that my friend on the other side can say to suggest that we have inherited something that is successful. We've also been accused, Madam Speaker, in his rather incoherent presentation to suggest that we are a tax and spend government. Give me a break. To me, the last or the single largest tax policy or the implementation of an onerous tax in this country has been the value-added tax. And to me, the Minister of Finance was not Alan Chastney, it was the Honourable Member for Vieux-Fort South. And so, Madam Speaker, I am saying that we have seen aggressive taxation from them, and we have inherited a situation that we have said and we have promised that we will try to adjust so that we can reduce the burden of this very oppressive, from the words of the Honourable Member for Vieux-Fort North, Vieux-Fort South, oppressive to the poor. That's how we described VAT value as in opposition. But when he came into government, it became the panacea for economic development. And so, Madam Speaker, I have learned very early in this game that I cannot rely on the narrative that comes from the gentleman to my right, because, Madam Speaker, it is a convenient message that comes from them. Madam Speaker, our tax policy is not in isolation. And I have been in the discussions with the SLHTA as it pertains to the airport development tax and also the increases that we propose on the departure tax. Madam Speaker, we explained to the hotel sector that we have new incentives that are coming that will make their businesses more viable, that will have a significant reduction on their operating costs, so that, Madam Speaker, they will be more competitive and the business environment will be more friendly. That's how you run a government, my friend. And so, Madam Speaker, taxes on airlines and passengers and investment, they all come together for a greater good. Madam Speaker, I have more to say a bit later, but I want to, at this time, more formally, add my voice and to support the motion by the Minister of Finance here today. And Madam Speaker, as we debate this motion, our main economic driver, tourism, is wrestling to reclaim its former glory days of growth in arrivals and expenditure. Madam Speaker, according to figures from the St. Lucia Tourist Board, St. Lucia experienced a 7.3 decline. Now here we are, as they have claimed that we are inheriting a very juicy situation, a successful situation, and the main industry which was supposed to have driven the economy declined by 7.3%. Madam Speaker, the cruise industry had an unprecedented decline of 13.3%. And when we said in June to do something desperately so that we can save the cruise industry, so that we can perhaps reverse the tide that was slipping away from us, they said that we were playing politics. They conveniently forgot to include the statistics which measure cruise arrivals to the destination. And then they indicated that we had a political agenda. But Madam Speaker, our agenda was a St. Lucian agenda. We wanted to see things reverse before it was too late. And so the inevitable happened. There was a 13.2 decline in cruise arrivals. Madam Speaker, more crucially though, we see that the expenditure from visitor arrivals declined by 4.8%. This, Madam Speaker, represents 99.9 million, or to be a little more round off, somewhere in the region of 100 million we saw the expenditure that we derive from tourism slipping as a country, Madam Speaker. That is the situation we have inherited nothing like success. All we've inherited is bad news, a difficult situation in the circumstances, and here we are struggling to rebuild this country, to bring it back to prosperity so that our people can begin to have some breathing space. Madam Speaker, the tourism industry, however, already in the first 3 months, has shown signs of rebound in the first quarter of 2017 after a dreadful year last year. This is buoyed by a phenomenal increase in cruise tourism. Madam Speaker, the records from SLASPA suggest that we have increased from 245,964 to 552,000, or a 27% increase in cruise arrivals, Madam Speaker. But the figures are important, Madam Speaker, for us to show the role that tourism needs to play so that we can... But of course. But this is very... Tourism is going to drive it, boss. It has a big implication. Anyways, do what you have to do. So, Madam Speaker, the figures from the St. Lucia Tourist Board, Madam Speaker, shows that the industry, and by extension the economy, and by extension our ability to collect more taxes, and by our extension to have a better budget performance, Madam Speaker, is on the rebound, and our chances are a lot better with a 27% increase in cruise arrivals. Madam Speaker, I must tell you that we're also encouraged by a 2% growth in stopover arrivals. And Madam Speaker, the visitors to hotels increased from 97,541 visitors to 99,541 arrivals. That is for the months of January to March. And Madam Speaker, we also saw a very slight increase by 1% in yacht arrivals for the same period. Madam Speaker, while these numbers represent an impressive growth scenario, they require much improvement on the revenue side to ensure that St. Lucia maximizes its returns from tourism. In order to attain stronger economic returns from, Madam Speaker, growth in stayover arrivals is key, as statistics continue to show that land-based tourism generates higher income levels. Madam Speaker, let's consider the year 2016 as a case in point, where a total of 587,749 cruise passengers recorded expenditure in the region of $56.5 million in the guest spend, according to the Social Economic Review. In comparison, Madam Speaker, the same document states that 347,872 stayover passengers recorded a guest spend of a whopping $1,914,500,000, almost $2 billion, Madam Speaker. So we see that, Madam Speaker, there's an average per visitor per guest spend of $96.12, while the stayover arrivals, the visitor per guest spend per day, Madam Speaker, records by the St. Lucia Tourist Board at $647 per visitor per day. So, Madam Speaker, clearly we see that it would require some 7 cruise ship passengers to compensate for the revenue potential of one hotel visitor, confirming the enormous importance of land-based tourism to the economic recovery that we so badly need. Cruise tourism, however, continues to be an important lifeline to the development of our tourism sector. And, Madam Speaker, if we will rise to the challenge and maximize the growth potential of tourism, then we are obliged to confront the inconvenient truths and constantly place our policies on trial. Madam Speaker, in the Caribbean region, we see better fortunes regionally, with the Caribbean marginally outpacing the world. While the global tourism growth averaged at 3.9%, Madam Speaker, we see that the Caribbean posted some 4.2, a growth rate of 4.2, Madam Speaker. Your days of being a schoolmaster is over, sir. Thank you. And Madam Speaker, we see that 4.2%, that growth rate, it meant that St. Lucia, Madam Speaker, continues to underperform when compared to the rest of the Caribbean, a point that we made last year when we were campaigning just before the general election, indicating that the island must continue, Madam Speaker, to take a very close look at its tourism marketing, its operations, and to see, Madam Speaker, how best it can derive higher returns from the opportunities that we have to grow and boost tourism. And so, Madam Speaker, we have got to do a number of things, Madam Speaker, to ensure that the tourism sector plays its rightful role in the development of this economy. And so, Madam Speaker, our government has committed and has already started work to the following. Madam Speaker, we will undergo a comprehensive restructuring of the main marketing body of our destination, formerly the St. Lucia Tourist Board, and soon to be announced the St. Lucia Tourism Authority. And I am very excited to hear what the member from Canaries East have to say about the authority, because, Madam Speaker, the situation we've inherited again is not mediocre but crisis. Madam Speaker, the former tourist board, which we were forced to discontinue, showed that the marketing function of our country, which we rely on to boost economic development and boost growth from tourism, we inherited a very bad financial situation, one that characterized mismanagement, one that characterized corruption in some cases, one, Madam Speaker, where we are left with a hefty bill of $10 million in debt, and it has really stymied the operations of the principal marketing agency of our destination. And so, Madam Speaker, we have had to take and swallow the bitter pill of reconstituting and reorganizing the tourism authority, which will replace the St. Lucia Tourist Board. Madam Speaker, we are undertaking a major rebranding exercise, and what we're doing is breaking hold from the traditional PR companies. The narratives that they present, Madam Speaker, is oftentimes very much similar. And when you look for nuances and you look for uniqueness in the messages, Madam Speaker, to differentiate the destination, it is always very, very, very difficult to find that. And so what we have decided to do, that we will liberate the tourism marketing function of our destination, and we will contract experts in other sectors outside the field of tourism, so that we can maximize the potential for innovation, we can maximize the potential of potency for marketing St. Lucia as a tourism destination. Madam Speaker, to rebound fully, we must negotiate airlift from strategic gateways. And we're looking very carefully at our summer business so that we can end the traditional winter season. So we're looking, Madam Speaker, specifically at the market of Texas, which is a very strategic gateway from which we're talking to a number of airlines so that we can bring about a longer summer and a longer period of arrivals to St. Lucia and heighten our chances for tourism to deliver economically to our economic development. Madam Speaker, we must also stimulate additional investment in our country, something that our friends on the other side failed to do. And we are looking, Madam Speaker, more aggressively at our tourism incentives. And our tourism incentives, we're about to bring a tourism incentive bill to Parliament. And Madam Speaker, we're at a very advanced stage at completing these incentives, which I mentioned earlier, will play a greater role in ensuring that existing businesses also have a more friendly environment or a sustainable environment for their businesses, but also to stimulate interest in the destination of St. Lucia by new investment into the country so that we can get the type of economic momentum that we want. Madam Speaker, the estimates that we're presiding over today, the results, the estimates we're presiding over today, Madam Speaker, require us to also reconstitute the architecture of major tourism institutions to facilitate more efficiencies in the execution of product development, indigenous participation at the level of entrepreneurship, in addition to a robust and innovative policy direction, which our government, Madam Speaker, will implement. There's no ifs, there's no buts, there's no maybe, sir. Madam Speaker, I am also happy to tell you that we, like other Caribbean destinations, are participating in the OECS Regional Tourism Competitive Project to improve on specific infrastructure to aid the competitiveness of the island's tourism industry. But most importantly, and last but not least, I want to also indicate the significant role that our new policy towards the development of tourism and our new policy to not just address these numbers or to give tourism a better chance at helping to grow the economy or to give it that momentum so that we can better get hold of the fiscal situation. But, Madam Speaker, to ensure that tourism plays a greater role in the advancement in the lives of local people. And so we will establish a new agency called Village Tourism Incorporated so that there will be increased participation from the populace, the local population of St. Lucia. And we can, Madam Speaker, leverage the growing and the increasing number of online platforms that are available so that, Madam Speaker, the apartments in rural communities and sites and attractions and communities and villages can also claim their stake in the growing and expanding opportunities that are existing within the tourism sector. And Madam Speaker, I'm very excited about this own project for my own constituency because, Madam Speaker, they too have a role to make their contribution to improving these numbers that are distressing all of us here in this House. And so, as parliamentary rep, for the most beautiful constituency, I look forward to showcasing the tourism potential of communities like Anse, where efforts are on the way to transform it into a cultural hub, Madam Speaker, where I have gotten the blessings of our Prime Minister to help with the redevelopment of the waterfront and help with the redevelopment of the ancillary fish fry, which, Madam Speaker, at this time needs some major injection and infusement of resources. Madam Speaker, to maximize the potential of communities like Roseau, with the major beach that is closest to the Canaries Harbor, where we hope to establish a day beach destination for cruise ship passengers. Madam Speaker, the Village Tourism Initiative will also help to bolster opportunities for communities like Dennery North and like Viewfort South, but also, Madam Speaker, Millet in my own constituency, where a tremendous adventure destination with its nature trail is already a tourist destination in its own right. Madam Speaker, Village Tourism Incorporated will also help places like Canaries and Castries South, and Viewport North, and other places, Madam Speaker, thus giving the entire country that opportunity to participate collectively. Madam Speaker, village tourism will be the hub of branding, it will be the hub of training, it will be the hub of development services for small tourism businesses and concerns throughout our country. And it will help our people to participate in the main economic driver of our economy. Madam Speaker, the outlined above is no easy feat but highly probable. Madam Speaker, it will require all of us summoning a new spirit. It will require, Madam Speaker, that we look at development differently. Madam Speaker, our options are very limited. And so, Madam Speaker, when I hear people talk about the DSH program that is happening, I wonder whether they are afraid or whether they really mean what they say or whether they are trying to construct a political message or whether they have given any serious consideration to the numbers which confront us, which are really showing that St. Lucia's fiscal position is really in dire straits, with the debt stock at the level that it is, and with, Madam Speaker, the GDP growth that is so low. I wonder, Madam Speaker, whether my friends on the opposite side are serious about the undertaking, about the comprehensive economic reform that is important, the new attitude to investment that is required in order, Madam Speaker, for us to adjust these numbers and bring St. Lucia back to a place of fiscal responsibility. I wonder, Madam Speaker, whether it is just politics as usual or whether they really believe in what they say. And sometimes I get disappointed and I ask myself, where is the meat in some of the claims that they make? And then, Madam Speaker, I remember as well that they keep saying that, you know what, we believe in the project, we just want it renegotiated. So that says to me that they are not convinced in their own message, but sort of are desperate to come up. Is there something you want to say about Jafali? Oh. But desperate, Madam Speaker, to find their own message to gain political momentum. And so, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, the situation before us, and you know, these numbers, Madam Speaker, are so grave, are so grave, Madam Speaker, that we, Madam Speaker, as a country, as a parliament, must find that new spirit and must find that new approach to investment. And so, Madam Speaker, a comprehensive approach is required, not just what the numbers are in the estimates. I think the people of St. Lucia and the people of Canaries South, your own constituency, where you propose to put the diabetes center, the people of Canaries South deserves and require all of us, Madam Speaker, to ensure that we take a comprehensive look at our respective ministries, at the respective contributions that we have to make to these numbers. And so this debate cannot be confined to the numbers, my friend, but the debate, my friend, we have to look at it holistically. So here we are. So here we are, Madam Speaker, more double standards from our friends who have failed to curtail their friend from Canaries East, who went on and talked about victimization and he didn't quote, I don't know what level of victimization because I didn't hear any figures quoted. But now, But now, after such a mediocre performance, they are trying to deny quality. And they're trying to silence good judgment and sensible governance.
That's right.
Yeah. So, Madam Speaker, as we continue to focus on these numbers, as we continue, Madam Speaker, to look at our respective responsibilities, I also want to talk a bit about the role that the media plays. Because, Madam Speaker, the department that I am rising to speak in the context of is the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting Services with Tourism. Madam Speaker, that particular heading has been allocated at 47,808,950,000. So, Madam Speaker, I read these numbers not to cower to the opposition, but only to make the point that we don't have an ideal situation. Because, Madam Speaker, as I've said to the Prime Minister, this is not enough money. But the Minister of Finance explained rather clearly, Madam Speaker, that what he has inherited, Madam Speaker, that I would never ever want to find myself in a situation like what he's inherited and what he's had to deal with. And so I decided that, you know what, as a compromise, I have to do my best and I have to be creative and use these inadequate numbers to ensure that I be strategic about the advancement of the responsibilities given to me and the advancement of the Information and Broadcasting Department. So, Madam Speaker, as we seek to come out of this hole that we have found, and my friend said in this hole we're talking about $5 cannot block it. So this hole, Madam Speaker, will require innovation. It will require strategy. It will require, Madam Speaker, every ounce of courage to do things that are new. And so I want to spend some time to talk about the role that the media will play as we seek to advance the cause of nation building and development in our country. Madam Speaker, under the Department of Information and Broadcasting Services, we have the Government Information Service, and we have the Radio St. Lucia Company Limited. Madam Speaker, these two organizations are victims of this rather precarious fiscal situation that confronts us. So when we analyze the media situation, we see that our St. Lucian story is being told in snippets. It is being told in sound bites. Our nation, therefore, is not being enlightened because media houses are starved for resources. The market is extremely saturated. The advertising revenues have declined and shrunk. And so business has become very difficult for a number of media houses. So I'm not knocking the media houses at all. I know that game all too well. I have been there as a media practitioner myself. But what is at stake here, Madam Speaker, is the role that the media should play in the development of our country. And that role, Madam Speaker, is severely undermined by the business and economic environment in our country that we face as a whole. Therefore, Madam Speaker, the role of enlightening our country and playing a more substantive purpose to information broadcasting for educating our country lies with public broadcasting. And so we have decided, Madam Speaker, that at the GIS, notwithstanding the limited resources which we have inherited, that we will move away and not try to compete with what the private media is already doing. But, Madam Speaker, we will ensure that public broadcasting will find a new meaning and a new purpose, where it will be about enlightening our country so that it can play its rightful role in nation building. And so, Madam Speaker, Radio St. Lucia also is a victim of the budget which we have received. And the capital budget for this year for the department is 33,628,250, and our recurrent is 14,260,700. Madam Speaker, notwithstanding all of this, we have a $3 million debt at Radio St. Lucia. And Madam Speaker, in order for us to address this situation, it will require every ounce of creativity. There is a report that Cabinet is presiding over, and we'll be making a decision on the future of Radio St. Lucia and GIS and how the two would interface with each other. Madam Speaker, I want to, at this time, leave you with these words, and I want to conclude by supporting the motion by the Minister of Finance, and I want to give my unreserved support to this, Madam Speaker, and I want to as well to posit my strongest appreciation for the difficulties that he has been through, contrary to the success story painted by the Honourable Member for Canaries East. Madam Speaker, I thank you very much for your patience, and I thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to address this Honourable House. Thank you.